I started my 1 week test of my Instagram ecosystem funnel, and I've already generated a couple of leads from it. So I decided, why not just walk you through the exact funnel I use myself, which I will eventually be selling to clients as well. It breaks down into 3 parts, which is the traffic sources, or the top of the funnel, the conversion engine, which is the middle of the funnel, and then the sales part, or the delivery part. Now, at the top of the funnel, we have 2 things. We have the top of the funnel ads and the story funnels. Now, the top of the funnel ads are either small reels or story ads that are hook focused and drive attention into my profile. Now, the story funnels can be run as ads as well, which I really recommend doing as they're converting really well right now. But basically, what the story funnels are daily sequences that we use call to actions for at the end to generate warm DMs, which we can convert using the sales mechanism part of the funnel. And I'll also break down these story funnels here later on, but I'll just quickly go through the ecosystem itself. Now, basically, we get cold traffic here at the top, which then goes into our funnel, which we make sure is optimized fully with our username and bio, our highlights that show off our methods, some proof and results, our start here tab that shows people how they can work with you, and the apply, which basically lets them get on a call to get to work. And then of course we have our pinned reels and posts that kind of work off people's pain points, breakdowns of our system, or a soft pitch video that allows us to convert people once they get onto our profile. Now, these only work once you've set up the profile for a while and the trust has been built. And the way we build the trust is through short form driven content, Instagram story sequences, and then long form driven assets, which are YouTube videos. And what you make sure to do is you funnel people from here and from here into your long form driven assets, which are your YouTube videos, to nurture people and warm them up even more for when they come back here. Now, the content does its part. The content is really well, and you want to make sure you're posting content. The content you're posting breaks down into 4 parts. You have connection content, education content, authority content, and results. You post connection content to relate more to the audience and build up trust by showing the real you. And you pair that up with authority to kind of frame you as the expert within your niche. And you do that through breaking down like common misconceptions, or showing your personal beliefs or perspectives onto a niche specific issue and stuff like that. And then of course you have your education and result based content, where you teach people something and you pair that up with results of you having taught that to someone else to then deliver results. Now, once people come in from your content, you're going to be getting some people engaging, some people even converting maybe, but we have retargeting ads that take the people who have maybe watched your videos to the end but haven't taken action. You can then go on to Ads Manager and run a campaign targeted towards the people who have watched 75% or 90% of your video, or maybe watched 5 of your stories but haven't taken action. And then you run an ad talking directly to them. And you can structure your ad maybe like, oh, you saw my last ad, you see how it works, blah, 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 blah. And then you explain why they should take action. Or you maybe say, you saw my video, you saw the results I can get, now it's your turn, blah, 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 blah. And then you pair that up with scarcity, saying like, oh, there's 2 spots left or whatever. And then you have your story follow-ups, which basically target the people who already follow you, where you post client win, objection busters, frequently asked questions and stuff like that, paired up with call to actions that basically tell them to get into the conversations before it's too late. These pieces of content and the ads will generate 2 types of leads. You're going to have warm outbound and inbound. Now, warm outbound is your followers. These are the people you're going to be reaching out to instead of cold people, because they're going to be warm and it's going to be much easier to nurture them within the DMs. Now, inbound leads are people coming in from your call to action content. And these people, you're going to be taking them through the DM convo tree, which I'll explain in a second. But for your warm outbound people, you're going to have a simple conversation following the DM structure looks something like this, where you have curiosity-driven questions, move on to a warm and trust-driven conversation where you use leverage questions and connect with the person, providing them value and assets paired up with the results or proof, and then potentially sending your offer and getting the call booked. Now, worst case, if the conversation doesn't go the way you want it and they haven't built up enough trust, you can send a follow-up asset like a lead magnet or a VSL solving a niche specific pain or something that relates to them. And if that doesn't work, you hit them with the follow-up sequence, and then worst case, you funnel them back into your content where they keep getting warmed up. Now, inbound leads, however, go through the DM combo tree, which is a ManyChat automation. Now, the ManyChat automation is made in a way to find what problem the lead has and give them targeted solution to warm them up even more. And it goes something like this. The user will DM you a keyword. ManyChat will then recognize this and send them the first question, which is, are you currently selling an offer right now? If they say no, you then tell them this works best if you're already booking or ready to launch, but you can send them the breakdown anyway to build more trust. They say yes, you ask them, what is your biggest bottleneck? What is your biggest problem that you have? And that might be getting leads, converting these leads. You have problems with your backend, where everything is just a mess. And then you have VSLs made for each of these issues, which then they pick which one relates best to them, and then you send them the asset. But before you send them the asset, you have two ways you can go. You have the soft close and you have the hard close. The soft close is basically just telling them if they want the breakdown or if they're just curious. If they want the breakdown, you deliver it. They're just curious. You ask them, what would you want it to fix first, which then you can use as data for your next ads or videos, or just in general, understanding your niche better. Now, if you want to go for a hard close, you give them the option to jump on a quick call or stay info only. If they say yes, they want to book a call, you drop the Calendly. If they only want the info, you deliver the resource, wait a couple of hours or days, and then have your setter or closer pick the conversation back up in the DMs and continue it with human input. Now, if they don't reply to any of these questions, you wait 2 to 3 days where you follow up telling them if they still want the breakdown or if you should come back next week. They say yes, then send the question again. If they don't, let it be. There's no point in pushing these types of people. Now, this combo tree is basically designed to find a specific problem that they're struggling with and then delivering them the solution to this to build up more trust. Then after you've sent this, you take over the conversation manually, talking to them to get them on a call or pay in full in the DMs. And then, of course, once you're on the sales call, or I don't even like to call these sales calls, I just call them onboarding calls because they're already going to be warmed up and trustworthy throughout the content and the ecosystem itself for you to jump on a quick 20 to 30 minute call, break it down for them, and then get to cash. And then, of course, you have your delivery system, which you should have systemized. I can't stress this enough. If you have problems with delivering your service, client acquisition isn't going to matter. If you can't systemize this to where you get what you need, like testimonial harvesting or a system to have the client confirm everything that you're doing while still delivering stuff, because the first 24 to 48 hours of the onboarding is the most important. That's where you want to set the expectations for the clients and show what you're going to do. You want to send game plans. You want to send the onboarding process. You want to build everything out for them and show them what you're going to be doing. Because if you under-deliver in the first 24 to 48 hours, the client will most likely not stick with you, which is not what we want. We want long-lasting and trustworthy connections with the client, so we have a long process of working together. Now, content, we have 4 parts. We have our reels, we have our stories, our pin posts, and our paid ads. Our posts are mainly to teach, reframe, and build trust, where you post your client wins, belief breakers, or just educational content with some soft call to actions. Our Instagram stories are to nurture and convert people into warm leads. And we do that through funnels and sequences, or just generic content to give them a better perspective of what your life looks like. Then, of course, we have call to actions directing them into our DM. Now, our pin posts are purely for social proof and telling people what you do. Here you post testimonials, carousels, explaining why everything works, blah, 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 blah. And then you have your medium call to actions where you either tell them to DM you something or comment something to then get a visual or a preview of a system or whatever you do. Now, paid ads are for scaling reach or retargeting people into your DMs. And then, of course, it's split into top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, and bottom of the funnel, where the top is purely to get more people into your profile, middle is to warm them up, and then bottom is to convert. And then, of course, like I mentioned, the different types of reels that you post are either micro result reels, belief breakers, process previews, or behind the builds. You can stop the video for a second and read through these, but that's not too important for me to cover right now. And then story sequences, which are probably the biggest thing that you should understand from this video. Now, story sequences are like mini VSLs disguised as stories, which help you convert people from not knowing who you are to realizing, oh my God, I need this system. And you do this through this structure. Number one is a pattern interrupt or a hook, where you show a visual or a result or just anything that makes them stop and look at what this is. You then agitate the cost and build the emotional pressure. And here you can say something like this: you're wasting hours with prospects who were never gonna buy. And it's not because your funnel is broken, you just never had one. Pairing that up with a visual of like a dry calendar, ghosted DMs, or just something that they can relate to. As you can see here, someone sent a message and they got left with just a like, nothing. You then reframe and shift their belief. Here's an example of how you do that. It's not your offer, it's your backend. As you can see, I highlight the words that are most important for the client to see. Most coaches skip the one system that makes people want to DM, and then this is where you tee up your method. Next frame is presenting your framework, but you do it without over-explaining. You keep it simple. Something like this: I built a 3-part system with a quick visual showing the system. Story funnel, into your DM path, and then delivery flow. No VSLs, no sales calls, just warm inbound clients. Then you pair that up with social proof or your personal results. If you don't have any client results yet, you can show your own calendar, your own inbound DMs, or a quick video, which you can also run as an ad explaining that you ran this on yourself and then the results you got. That's actually what I'm doing right now, as I just launched the system. So I don't have any client results yet, but I'm not letting that stop me. So I'm running it on myself to prove that this actually gets results. And then the final step, which is your call to action. You ask them to DM you something for something in return. Now, for example, I could write, DM me system, and I'll send you the exact breakdown I used. No pitch, just the system. And then you can also add a kind of cheeky, but you say, you want this breakdown or you want this breakdown. There's no other option. But once people click this, you can have ManyChat pick it up and then move them on to the DM combo tree, where you, of course, proceed in the DMs manually or through this system. Now, there are some small tricks you can use to improve stories, but they mostly work if you've built up an audience. If you have a collection of people you want to work with, you can put them into your close friend story, because a close friend story gets moved to the front of their Instagram feed instantly, which in return increases your story views by 50 to 100. So you can use the close friend story to boost yourself to the front and then follow that up with your story sequence for the people you want to. And also, close friend stories create the fear of missing out because it feels way more exclusive. And then you can finish off with another close friend story 12 hours later for an additional boost, but don't overuse it because it can backfire on you. And of course, there are a lot of story formats you can master, like credibility driven ones, call to action driven ones, value driven ones, scarcity or pain driven ones. which are all examples right here. By the way, if you want this this Miro sheet, just breaking everything down, just send me a DM on Instagram and I'll send it over. But that's basically the gist of story sequences. I can make a whole video just breaking these down because there's so much to do with these. But if you understand this structure and post these daily, you're gonna start seeing results. Like it's not more complicated. And then finally, for acquisition, there's 3 ways to go. As you can see, I haven't put out the last one because I'm still working on it myself with the data I'm gonna get from this week. But you either have inbound story funnels where you already have that trust built of your audience, or you have the outreach strategy, which you use if you haven't built any trust. Now the outreach strategy goes like this. You either go to a cold, which is just a random person you find on Instagram, or a warm lead, which is your follower. And here, you either send your outreach message or a story reply. Keep in mind, story replies are much better to do because the algorithm fits. Or, of course, if it's a warm lead, you just move on to a nurturing conversation. Now, if you went with the outreach message and they replied, you send the follow-up asset and then move on to the curiosity-driven, where you then follow the DM flow. We do 3 follow-ups with 24 hours in between each. And for the follow-ups, you can either send a voice note, you can mention them in your close friend story to make them see it because it's going to get pushed to the top of their DM. You know, their inbox, it's going to get pushed to the top, which will most likely make them see it. Or you send an in-house video. You can send a quick video just explaining a system and telling them that it might really be beneficial to them. But you only do 3 because you don't want to seem too... Now, like I said, within the conversations, you're going to be sending voice notes or in-house videos because it feels way more personal and trustworthy. And then you're going to be sending visuals with text explaining the visuals. And the reason you do that is because if you have a system that seems important and you can explain it in a way that makes people interested, but it's too hard to explain on text, it's going to make the transition from DMs to conversation on a meeting much simpler for you. So you send the visual with the text, break it down a little bit, and then you move on to asking them for a call. Now, the way you ask for a call is you say, hey, I've got some time later on tonight. If you want, we can jump on a quick call and I can break down the system for you. And if they say yes, you send your Calendly link and check if they've booked. If they haven't booked, follow up just once, let it go if they haven't. Now, if they do, you can additionally send a pre-call warm-up asset, which is just something like a game plan or a quick VSL explaining something for them, just to warm them up a bit more before the call. And then once you're on the call, you break down the system, and if it's valuable enough, they're going to pay for it, and then you've got your sale. So that's kind of the breakdown of the systems I use. Of course, this isn't too detailed, but if you want anything else explained or you have any questions about anything, just hit me up in my Instagram. I'll reply to every single DM. And yeah, see you guys in the next one.